Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Adrienne Montgomery. I'm with ERP VAR. We really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to join us. Today we're going to be talking about Acumatica, forecasting demand to automate purchasing, labor, and order fulfillment. So happy to be joined by Russ Graff, Vice President of Sales North America for NetStock, Richard Kurtzer, Acumatica Product Lead over at Scanco, Matt St. John, Sales Executive over at V Technologies. He'll be reviewing the StarShip solution. And Patty Benitez over at American Payment Solutions. She is a channel executive. I think she's recently been promoted, though, to Vice President. So congratulations, Patty. And then just a couple items about the companies with us today. We're going to be talking about Acumatica. That's the umbrella ERP we're showcasing today. And as everybody probably knows on the line, it's a cloud ERP. It encompasses adaptable cloud and mobile technology, all-inclusive user licensing model, enabling a complete real-time view of business anytime, anywhere. And they only offer their solution through a network of expert partners who know the solution inside and out. And it includes financials, distribution, manufacturing, project accounting, construction, CRM. There are many vertical adaptations for Acumatica. And we're joined by NetStock. And Russ will be talking about NetStock. It's a cloud-based application that integrates seamlessly with Acumatica. It forecasts future demand and provides incredible visibility into the health of your entire inventory in the warehouse. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that. And Scanco, Richard Kurtzer, he's going to be talking about Scanco's leading WMS application for Acumatica. They've been providing WMS applications since 1989. And they have thousands of distribution and manufacturing companies using their application that resides on an iOS, Android, or Windows device out there in the warehouse and the manufacturing job floor so that those warehouse personnel and manufacturing personnel can interact with Acumatica remotely. And we're also going to be talking about American Payment Solutions. They're a leading credit card processing solution integrated with Acumatica. The great thing about American Payment Solutions is that they take all the data in Acumatica to get you the lowest rate, credit card processing rate, through level 3 credit card processing. And Patty's going to be talking a little bit more about that. And Matt St. John is going to be talking about StarShip. And StarShip is a UPS Ready partner. They're a Gold FedEx compatible solution provider. They have small parcel, regional, and LTL carriers. Many carriers are available in their shipping application that automates the shipments in Acumatica out on the warehouse floor. And they launched their Acumatica interface in 2016. And they're a market-leading shipping software provider for Sage and Microsoft Dynamics. A little bit about the workflow. We're going to be talking about forecasting customer demand and combining that with purchasing automation to track production, labor, and material entries. And that's just a little bit about the workflow. And then we'll be talking about automating the shipping and the credit card processing through that level 3 interface to get the best rate. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Russ. Thank you so much, Russ.
Thanks. Again, appreciate that, Adrienne. And yes, as Adrienne mentioned, we are going to be today discussing kind of this automated workflow that Acumatica users can leverage to really provide an efficient and a profitable order fulfillment process to their customers. And we're going to start that discussion today with the obvious, I guess, but critical need to actually have product on hand to meet that customer demand. Right? Many small and medium-sized businesses today really struggle with the challenge of maintaining proper inventory levels, which we term inventory optimization. So let's have kind of a formal definition here of what we mean by inventory optimization. Really what it represents is having the lowest possible inventory value on hand in your warehouses while still providing the highest possible service levels or fulfillment of that demand to your customers. So that's really kind of the formal definition. Right. In practical terms, what that really means is reducing excess inventory for items that are not selling as fast as you thought or that could be managed better, while at the same time minimizing that stocking out situation. We certainly see that customers don't want to stock out, and many times that they solve that problem is simply by buying too much, and both of those have some severe consequences and really a bad impact on the profitability of an organization. And then the other part that falls out of it then is, once I've gotten optimized inventory, one of the ways we do that is we can really make smarter buying decisions and make those decisions quickly and effectively and efficiently, so that we can get about our other parts of our business that we need to focus on in that buyer planner role. So really significant benefits to the concept of optimizing your inventory if we can figure out how to do that. So again, when you run out of inventory, right, one of the worst things that can happen is, because you not only could potentially lose that individual sale if you can't fulfill the order, but you have perhaps the risk of losing that customer as well to a competitor. We live in a very competitive environment today. We live in an Amazon world of expectations. And so our consumers, our customers now have very high expectations that you're going to have inventory when they need it. And you could really risk losing a customer long term if you can't meet that need. But at the same time, when you have too much inventory, you're tying up a ton of capital that could be used elsewhere in the business to drive other initiatives and other profits. That excess inventory also has very real and significant carrying costs, out-of-pocket costs such as taxes and insurance, and I'm paying rent in the warehouse. I've got to move it around and count it, and it can have shrinkage and breakage issues and so forth. So real challenges associated with having too much. And so that balancing act is really a challenge for today's buyers and planners in any organization. Even small, medium-sized businesses today have some very complex supply chain challenges, buying from overseas, selling through an omni-channel environment, maybe using 3PL locations around the country to deliver product and to stock product. So some very complex supply chains that the big guys have always dealt with, but the small, medium-sized business is really facing more and more, and simply don't have the right tools to do that. So we find that buyers and planners are spending way too much time building, maintaining spreadsheets, which is typically the default application, manipulating data and putting out fires, apologizing to customers and to salespeople and so forth, when instead they should be able to quickly rely on accurate numbers, sound analysis, and really produce what we would call an optimal purchase order in very short order. And then they can spend the rest of their time tweaking the supply chain, right? Working with suppliers, building those relationships, trying to get the best price performance out of those suppliers, negotiating shipping rates, etc. And that's work that is, much more impactful, really more fun and less stressful for those folks in the organization. So just some really significant benefits to managing this aspect of the business well. So the better way to manage this key component of the order fulfillment process is not with spreadsheets, but it's with an application like NetStock, which is a dedicated single-purposed application designed specifically to meet this requirement, and which then can employ really a best practices model gleaned from decades of experience in the demand planning space that our founders and our employees have, that we bring to bear in this application. So as you can see on the screen, NetStock is cloud-based. It's an on-demand, any browser type application. It is seamlessly integrated with Acumatica, and it's dashboard driven. I'll fire this up in 1 second. You'll get a chance to look at the graphical, colorful, interactive nature of the application, which makes it for easy adoption and really easy to understand. And it really follows a management by exception sort of approach, right? Where do I need to focus my attention and my energy? Where do I have things that have gone wrong in my inventory that needs my attention today? And then help me prioritize those. And again, a best practices sort of model in terms of calculating a proper safety stock and monitoring my supplier performance and so forth, to really help me make well-informed decisions on what to buy and when to buy it. And because it is a cloud application, it is rapidly deployed. We deploy it remotely. We don't have to send consultants on site. We've built in a lot of self-service and a very strong methodology for deployment. And it's very affordable using a kind of a subscription model pricing typical of a cloud application today. So when we designed the application, knowing our target market was the small, medium-sized business, we said, let's really narrow this down to focusing on answering two key questions. First is, what needs my attention? Again, what has gone wrong in my inventory? What needs my attention today? And then out of that analysis, what do I need to order to either keep myself in a balanced state or to get myself there? And we've got three key engines that kind of help provide the answers to those questions. And I'll show those to you in the application here in a second. But we're going to do product classification, not only ABC analysis based on value, but also high, medium, low velocity or speed of movement. We're then going to be able to define various investment and service policies and targets and metrics that we want to hit from performance, KPI type of approach. And the system does have 15 algorithms built into the application to help it drive the demand profile going forward. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and launch into my application and show you what the dashboard looks like. So as I log into NetStock initially to assess where do I stand, the dashboard really helps me answer that first question, right? What needs my attention? It has 9 different widgets or panels or KPIs on each of these applications. Now, we've got over 1,200 companies around the globe using this application. Because we are a true cloud app, every one of them looks exactly the same. They're on the same version, and the interface is identical. What's different is we have the ability to configure what data is represented on these various panels or dashboards. So we have the ability to look at certain locations and warehouses, and I can aggregate different warehouses virtually or logically. So if I've got regional warehouses or I want to see a national view, which is what my demo data is showing me here, I have the ability to do that. If I have certain suppliers that I manage or certain product lines that I manage or certain warehouses that I manage as a buyer, those can all be grouped and managed appropriately so that I can select off of a drop-down list what my pertinent data is. And of course, I can set that as a default for me as a buyer so that I'm looking at data that's important to me every single day. And I'm getting great visibility here, as Adrian mentioned in the intro. I can see where I currently stand, how much of that is in excess versus how much of that is actually out of stock already. And a little bit more proactively in this last column, do I have purchase orders on their way that when they arrive are going to automatically create more excess, right? I didn't need the order yet, so we call that a surplus order. And I have the ability to look at products that are still on hand today, but we expect to run out based on our demand profile and projections and lead times and so forth. So I can maybe get ahead of the curve on these last couple of items to either delay a purchase order or cancel it altogether, combine it with a later one, or figure out how to expedite an existing order and get it in quicker so that I don't have that potential stock out. And we're going to identify not only which items in aggregate are in that status, but we're going to give you a top 5 list underneath each one of these various metrics. So we're going to see a bar chart that shows me my trending, and I want to see that excess stock is going down and fill rates are going up. And so I can very quickly visually see that I've got trends going the right direction. But then I can also see what the total problem looks like. In the case of excess stock, I've got over 400 items and some $18 million worth of excess here. But then I can also zero in on the top 5 that are the biggest perpetrators of this problem, right? So if I can focus my attention only on a few items today, because we know, again, in the middle market, buyers and planners are typically wearing multiple hats. And so I might not have all day, every day to dig into every one of these items. So NetStock is going to help me really focus and prioritize where can I have the most impact, which items are causing me the most heartburn, and then what's the status and nature of those items so that I can help prioritize and focus on those. So that first question of what needs my attention is really addressed by the dashboard. You'll notice lots of ease of use functionality, pop-up bubbles, again, color coding, the ability to drill into an entire detailed report. So if I wanted to see all 438 items that represent my excess stock challenge, I can do that, and it'll be automatically sorted by value, but I can sort by all kinds of column headers. I can also filter this data. So if maybe I want to only look at my slowest moving items, I can say, give me my low velocity, apply that filter, and now I've got a subset of that raw data that I can now maybe manage and maybe now sort by supplier. And now I can dump this out to a CSV file, send it to my suppliers and say, hey, go ahead and help me understand what I've got here. And can you take some of this back? Or do you have another customer that might need some of this? Help me action, right? Take steps against alleviating my excess stock item. The other thing that you're seeing in the color coding is this classification that I mentioned, where we're ranking items by value. So here's our ABC ranking. And then here's our high, medium, low speed of movement ranking. And then interestingly, we combine those into an overall view that gives me this 9-box color-coded matrix that really helps me understand the nature of the items in my overall inventory. Obviously, these folks up in the upper right-hand corner that are color-coded green, these are my bread and butter items, right? These are high-value, fast-moving items. I may want to have higher fill rates, pay more attention to those, etc. Lower left, this is a slow-moving, low-value item. I can make some decisions around that. Maybe if those are nuts and bolts, I just want to buy them twice a year and put them in the corner of the warehouse and not have to worry about it. Maybe I can have my vendor manage some of those items for me and I don't even have to bother stocking them. So with that visibility and with that analysis, we can really understand what's going on and what policies I need to have. And then nicely from this dashboard, I can drill into an individual item and even see more detail to help me understand what actions I need to take. So I see a potential stock out item here that's color-coded green. I want to dive in and take a closer look. And so we're going to calculate a safety stock based on a demand profile, as well as looking at risk factors for my suppliers and risk factors of that forecast, right? How volatile is this forecast? And if those are challenges for me, then I might want to have an extra day or two of safety stock or buffer stock. And then we roll that safety stock number into this middle policy panel, where I can now calculate every day for every item in every warehouse based on lead time and safety stock what my min and my max is. So every day for every item in every warehouse, what's a proper safety stock that's calculated with a sophisticated tool, and then what's my min and max, and then compare that to where I currently stand, assess that, assign a status to it, make recommendations on what I need to do. And then with all kinds of other detailed analysis and ability to modify my forecast if I have some tribal knowledge or some marketplace information that's providing additional input for me, I can go ahead and amend the forecast. So all this data is coming from the source of truth in Acumatica on a seamless basis every single night, and allows me now to really drill in and understand what's going on in my inventory and take the proper actions and help me prioritize that. So obviously a very quick high level exposure, but I just want you to see what the interface looks like, the ease of navigation, the color coding and the visual cues that we provide, and the ability to drill down and drill around to see all kinds of detail around that environment. So that's how we answer that first question about what needs my attention today. But I think right now what I'd like to do is step back a little bit and provide a little bit more broader context for this, right? Clearly all that analysis and recommendations that NetStock can provide are impressive and very helpful, but they're also dependent on accurate data flowing from Acumatica, especially relating to the true status of the inventory counts themselves and locations, right? So the flip side of this inventory management coin, what we were going talking about relative to inventory replenishment, the flip side is that physical piece, the inventory control, obviously very critical. And so improving the accuracy of that data is the focus of the Scanco suite of applications. And so our next presenter will walk us through their role in this automated fulfillment process. So with that, I'll hand it over to Richard from Scanco to talk about this flip side of the coin for us. Richard?
Good morning or good afternoon, coming to you from New York. My name is Richard Kurtzer. I'm coming from Scanco. And yeah, I handle basically the warehousing and manufacturing side of Acumatica. We do the barcoding data collection. And as Patty said, we've been doing this for a couple thousand customers across the world, mostly on other flavors of ERP, but our Acumatica business is growing rapidly. We're up to about 20 sites across the US and Canada in such diverse industries as wire and cable, traditional wholesale distribution, power equipment manufacturing, a little bit of everything. And I'd say about half of our customers are using us for both manufacturing on Acumatica Manufacturing Edition and also on the warehouse side, and then half of them are using either one or the other. Today we're going to focus mostly on Scanco Warehouse, but I did want to touch on manufacturing as it does play an important part of the inventory control and supply chain picture, of course. Because as we're tracking everything through the various steps, you know, we're tracking materials into work centers, we're tracking labor directly, and we are completing that work in process into finished goods. That data is fed back up into Acumatica in real time, and then NetStock can, of course, take full advantage of that. Same thing on the warehouse side. Acumatica's got a really nice built-in warehousing and inventory control system, but it doesn't have what it takes to execute properly out in the warehouse. So it'll give you right out of the box bin management, serial tracking, all the different units of measure that you need, you name it. But where it does not work as well is where we come in, is we take that and we extended into the warehouse on apps and devices for Android and iOS. We don't support Windows. We're not planning on it. I would say 90% of our new installations are going to Android just because the scanner performance is actually just that much better. But without any further ado, I'm going to step away from the PowerPoint and bring you over to my handheld. So this is a live view of a Zebra handheld that I have right now. And I'm just going to go ahead and maximize it. And I'm already logged in on my warehouse, and you can see that we have a nice, simple, clean interface that you can put in the hands of anybody that's familiar with an iPhone or an Android device, and they'll be able to get up and running very quickly. So of course, at the beginning of the day, what do? We need to bring that inventory into the warehouse.
I'm going to start with a purchase order. So we're going to go again and do PO receipt by item. This will basically let me pick which vendor I want to receive a PO from. Real common way of using the software. You have a pallet or a truck or a container coming in from a specific vendor. So let's go ahead and grab my first item here. So again, it's going to show me my item, description, unit of measure, and then I can associate it with the correct purchase order. In this case, I have one left that's not being processed, so I'm going to just go ahead and pick that. And that'll automatically pick my receiving bin. I can select whether or not I want to scan eaches. I can turn on or off whether or not I want to print labels. So if I turn that on, it's going to ask me for the quantity as well. Because, for example, maybe I only need 1 or 2 labels if a couple are damaged coming off of there. So I'm going to just say print I need 5, and I'm going to receive 10 items. Check and send. So now that item has been received into Acumatica. If I want to do that one more time, I'm just going to pick something off the list here. Let's go ahead and grab my baby products and pick a purchase order number. Again, it's automatically going to put it into the receiving bin, and the label setting is sticky, so it assumes if you print it for something, it's going to want you're going to want to keep going until you turn it back off. So this item, I don't need any labels, and I'm going to receive my 15, and I'm going to send. That looks good, and now those items have been received into inventory. So once I have some items in inventory, maybe I want to transfer them out of receiving into an actual put away location, so I could do a transfer out. Now we support multiple warehouses. I was demoing this last time. Somebody wanted to see how it would look to transfer to a truck, so that was the last warehouse I was working in. Let's go ahead and clear that out and stay within my wholesale warehouse. But we support multi-company and multi-warehouse right out of the box. It's not anything that's extra. So let's pick a source bin for this item. I've got 40 of them in receiving that I'd like to put away. And let's pick a destination bin. If I drill in, I can actually see where things are at in real time. I have plenty in row 1, shelf 1. Let's put some away in row 1, shelf 2. I'm going to put all 40 there. Check. And then send to Acumatica. Now that inventory has been moved. It's been put away. And I'm going to do a quick touch on physical count as well. We tie directly into Acumatica's physical count system. So if I do a count by bin, you basically set up the count number within Acumatica's system, and then you can execute it from the handheld. And we have all sorts of rules and configurations available. So if you're doing, say, a small cycle count, you could lock it down to 1 operator, or if you're doing your entire warehouse, you can let everybody in. There's really up to you. So I would select my bin. And if I drill in here, you can see that this count is restricted to these items. So you just scan your items, enter your quantity, and hit send. I don't have my actual quantity in front of me, so I'm going to leave this one alone for now. But it basically ties directly in to Acumatica's system. And if it looks like I'm moving kind of quickly through these transactions, it's because that's really how quick it is when you get this out in the field. It's meant to be something that your people will get fluent on very quickly. So last but not least, I'm going to go into sales orders, and we're going to go ahead and do a ship by order. I'm going to grab my sales order and my item, and I'm going to go ahead and pick my bin, and I'm going to ship 5 of these. And what you'll notice is that these are serialized items, so now it's going to force me to scan valid serial numbers for these. So ship sales order by customer. Go grab my item. I think I had the wrong sales order number for that one. There we go. Ship a couple of those. There we go. There's our first serial number. And our second serial number. And one more. All right, so as you can see, I've got my serial number scanned. I'm going to show you what this review thing is up here, because I could hit send and it'll send all these transactions up to Acumatica, create the shipment, which would then be handed off to something like StarShip to get it out the door. But as I'm going, I can actually go in and check my work here or trigger an additional label print. So you can see there's my item, my serial number, and if I scroll through, you'll see the other serial numbers that I've done. Those all look good. Send. And now those have been shipped in to Acumatica. That shipment's been created. We're also adding a modality to be able to pre-allocate shipments. That's something that a bunch of our customers have asked for. The workflow is going to look pretty much the same. You're going to be able to go in and pre-allocate a shipment and then execute it from the handheld. So really handy if you have tight lot control, tight serial control, and you want to allocate specific serial numbers, lot numbers, things like that in advance of it hitting the warehouse. So a little bit more that I want to show you. We have a full management portal. This is where you do your device management, your user management, and then we have all of our different apps and settings in here. So just to give you a little bit of a flavor of that, application settings, and we actually are also adding that in for manufacturing. We're going to be overhauling the app to make it look more like our warehouse application, and along with that, many more settings are going to be available. Right now, the first couple of settings that we're doing are going to be on, just to give you an example, labor entry. You can turn on or off auto release, same with status, everything else. But if I go back to warehouse, we're going to be getting pretty in-depth on the settings for that. So if I go to, for example, PO receipt by order, this will allow me to turn on or off multiple users in the same order, same item, my receiving bin, really all the kind of configurations that you'll need as you figure out your workflow. We go through this with you as part of the implementation and training process, and then we help you along through support if you need to change anything in the future. But the important thing is you can do a lot of this stuff self-service as an admin. You don't need to make a tech support call to tweak these kinds of settings. This is also where the printing settings and the logs, everything else lives. But that pretty much wraps it up for the quick overview of our warehouse application. Again, it ties directly into Acumatica's warehouse management system that's already built in, and it extends it directly onto the floor so that you can have the power of Android and mobile scanning to execute.
Bring up StarShip. So in the center of my screen, you should be able to see the StarShip shipping software. With StarShip, our shippers can actually ship directly from the program. So as you can see in the upper left-hand side is my source document. So StarShip can pull by shipment number, by sales order number, or by customer number. Most clients that use StarShip are using the shipment number. So with that shipment number field, I can manually type that in. I can click my magnifying glass and actually apply filters to see all the shipments that I have available inside of Acumatica. Nice thing with this, I can actually start doing batch processing, so I can select as many shipments as I like and then simply click the process selected button down below. In this case, I'll just load this one document and bring in this information. We can also, in the shipment fields here, if your pick sheets or whatever shipping document you're using to ship against is barcoded, you can actually use just a regular wedge type scanner, have that hooked up to your shipping machine, and scan in that order information. But what StarShip's going to do is actually reach into Acumatica and pull in all the order header as well as the line item detail information. We're simply looking at fields inside Acumatica and mapping in the information. So these map fields can have a one-to-many relationship. So as you can see here, based off the ship via on this shipment, StarShip is automatically going to select the carrier, service, billing type, account information, so we can also help automate third-party shipments. and actually automatically select the customer's information, including their account information. You know, really speeding up that time. One less thing my shipper has to worry about stopping and manually filling out, putting in that third-party account info. Down on the center, of course, that's the company that the order is coming from inside of Acumatica, and the recipient is the ship to. So StarShip will validate the address. We validate zip +4, and we actually also validate the commercial residential flag. So we are going to help save on those address correction fees and the commercial flag correction fee as well. Okay. Down in the packaging view, this is actually the breakdown of that item detail. All right, so as you can see here, I have 2 items, and each of these items actually going into their own separate package or box. So with StarShip, if we define this inside of Acumatica, it will return it inside of StarShip, how we define it there in Acumatica. But what I have going on here is with StarShip, we can also have it automatically learn, or I can manually set up what we call packaging scenarios. Okay, so in this case, my laptop, it knows, hey, I automatically put that in my laptop box, and this air hockey table automatically goes into an air hockey box. Okay, so going to package that for me. With the packaging, StarShip has its own database where you can set up and store your own custom boxes, bags, bales, pallets, what have you. A nice thing with using these custom boxes, as you can see, once they are set up, StarShip's automatically going to populate the dimensions. Okay, so we do return automatically dim weights. So we're going to help save on those dim weight correction fees. I know nowadays with UPS, FedEx, that's a big deal. I know recently, I think UPS just even upped their correction fee. So going to help save on those fees as well. The actual bill weight, if you have a scale hooked up to your shipping machine, we integrate with most scales. You know, my system, I'm actually just pulling this information from Acumatica. But, you know, again, with a scale, it can automatically pull in that weight. And then on the line item detail, so StarShip's also going to start storing your inventory items automatically. We do this because a lot of times, you know, like in Acumatica, they don't have spots for required information. I mean, if this was an LTL shipment like NMFC code or freight class, okay? International data, as you can see here, I can click on this little icon, and it brings up all the required international data that I need. So country manufacturer, Schedule B or harmonized codes. We have our own lookup. So as a shipper, if I needed to look up a code, I could look it up by code or by actual description. Okay. So I'm going to be able to have that in EI classification, certificate of origin, so on and so forth. As you can see, all that information is going to be stored right inside Acumatica. Next step, maybe at time of shipment, if I need to rate shop, I can click this green dollar icon or go to the rate shop tab. So the way StarShip works, we have the carrier modules. Currently, probably I think have about 29 between parcel and LTL carriers. And with the purchase of a carrier module, that allows you, as you can see here, this direct connection to the carrier. Okay, so when I rate shop, I'm actually having StarShip send my account information to the carrier, and it will return my live negotiated contract rate that I have with the carrier. Okay, so, you know, this is nice with LTL shipments. I no longer have to, if I use 3 different LTL carriers, I don't have to go and call or go on each of the LTL carriers' website to get the rates. It's all right here for my shipper. With StarShip, we have what we call ship via rules. So I can actually set up rules and have StarShip automatically do this rating and then select the carrier and or service based off of my rule. Hey, maybe StarShip automatically select the carrier service that's the least expensive or going to get the package there in the least amount of delivery days. Okay, so as you can see, I can see estimated delivery. I can change this and see business days, total days. And if I want to, I can actually change and see list pricing. On the charges tab, as a shipper, I don't have to click on this to actually process a shipment. I just show it. This is actually just a breakdown of the charges, but I bring this up because with StarShip, we can also do freight rules, okay? So they can be min maxes. It could be, as you can see here, a percentage. It could be a flat rate. The triggers, as I like to call them, can be all the way down to based off of an item number. You know, maybe if you're shipping oversized items, you can simply say, hey, anytime item 1, 2, 3 is on an order, automatically add $20. Or maybe you do, hey, certain customers get a discount or promo codes. But a lot of flexibility with those freight rules. So next step, when I'm ready to actually process this shipment, I can click the Ship and Process button. As a shipper, I can also click the F5 key, a little shortcut key. But as soon as I do that, what StarShip is doing is it's going to process the shipment. It's sending information back into Acumatica. It's also notifying my carrier, oh, they have something ready to be picked up. And then with this, another option here, I can also save a shipment. So if I would maybe wanted to start the process, not really finish it yet and get my shipping documents, I could start doing a shipment. You know, maybe I have an item that's not quite ready yet. I can start it, save it, and then come back and finish it later. But when I ship and process, I will automatically get my shipping documents. Now, just for the sake of the demo, I am previewing these. I'm also using what we call our smart label. So as you can see here, the smart label will print the shipping label and the packaging list together. This goes to a laser printer because it will be on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. But with StarShip, you have the options. Most of them, we can send our shipping label to a normal thermal printer. And if you wanted to use our packing list, you can also send that to a thermal printer. So maybe save some paper, use those free labels you get from your carrier. Or you could actually send that also to a laser printer, just to paper. So you can kind of do a combo. It's really up to you. And then because this is an international document, StarShip will generate international documents. I get my second package here. For LTL shipments, we also can generate bill of lading forms. We can do pallet labels, barcoded pallet labels. Okay, so here's my certificate of origin. With StarShip's documents, you can also customize them. So a lot of clients we have, they actually have them pre-signed, name, dated. Again, one less thing my shipper has to stop and manually fill out. You know, we can print these out, grab them off the printer, they're ready to go. And the next document we'll get here is a commercial invoice. With the documents, if you customize them, you can create unlimited templates. And then on each template, you can assign a printing rule. So maybe, hey, customer ABC needs this commercial invoice to look a certain way. We can create a template for that customer and then assign a rule so the commercial invoice will only print for customer ABC. Okay. All right, so again, ship and process. As a shipper, I get my shipping documents, and then now I'm in that rinse repeat cycle, ready to move on and do my next shipment. Back inside of Acumatica here, we'll go back into the shipments, and I'll bring up that order we just shipped to kind of show you that reverse right back. So I'm going to go on the shipment tab here. So StarShip is going to write back the freight cost. So that's what I'm charging the customer. So that's plus or minus any freight rules. And the freight amount is actually what I'm going to be charged by the carrier. Okay. So it's my negotiated rate. And then the packaging tab, as you can see, will write back the box IDs. And then also on this, we're going to write back the tracking information, the customer reference fields. This is up to you. You decide what you want to put in here. So I'm just doing service type as well as the ship date. And then also on the notes tab, we write all that information back right there. Okay. And really quickly, going to show you two other standard programs that come with StarShip. First one is our e-notification program. So with e-notify, as you can see, you can simply create your own custom templates, build your brand awareness. You know, if you're currently shipping UPS and using those quantum views, they're kind of labeled UPS. So with these, you can put your company logo on there. Easily pull in shipping data. You know, I can let my customer know, hey, look out for that UPS truck. It's going to be here on the 20th. That's actually coming from the carrier, so it is valid. Item to box breakdown. We can show our customers how many packages, what's in each package, and the tracking numbers, of course, are hyperlinked. So, you know, in this case, this customer will get this email. Let them click on that tracking number. Let them go out to UPS. Let them track it instead of calling you and saying, hey, where's my shipment? You know, we put all that in their hands. And with the emails, you can do unlimited templates with these emails, and you can also assign, instead of with the documents printing rules, you can actually assign emailing rules. So in this case here, I have a promo code. Maybe I want that to only go to certain customers. I can create that template, assign that promo code, and to only those certain customers, and then this email will be sent just to those customers. And then, of course, we include our dashboard program, which is a reporting tool. So as you can see here, I just have some performance indicators up, shipment by carrier, by mode, shipment by users. So each of your shippers can actually have their own logins to StarShip, and you can also assign their own security roles if needed. But here I can see who's shipping what. Shipment history view, as you can see. Nice thing with these little widgets, I can drill down further. If I had to track a package, I could actually track right from dashboard, and this is the information I would gain access to. So as you can see, I can see the estimated delivery, the status of it, how many days it's been in transit, again, all the way down to the packaging and line item detail. Okay. And we also include some canned reports here. Two I'll quickly make mention is our late delivery report. You can run this. It's actually going to go out and compare the guaranteed delivery date to the actual delivery date of your packages. So it's going to let you know of any shipment that wasn't delivered on time. So you contact the carrier, try to get a refund. And the other one that's a good help is the charge comparison report. So this report was actually going to show you all your shipments. It's going to have a column that's the applied. So the applied is what you charge the customer for the shipment. Second column is your actually contract rate. And then, of course, the third column is the plus or minus. So quick report you can run. Make sure you're not losing money on your shipments. And that's really what I want to show you. Again, quick 30,000-foot overview of StarShip. Really, again, appreciate everyone taking time out of their day.
Thank you. This has been a great presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, Acumatica, the best cloud solution available, providing you automation, security, speedy shipping and tracking, as well as compliance with NetStock, Scanco, StarShip, and now let's find a way to get you paid faster with American Payment Solutions. Now, the one thing that I'd like to focus on in this presentation is level 3 processing. If you do not know what this term means, you have to learn about it today. It means that you can get the rates that you are currently processing with as low as 0.03%, or at least get the rates cut in half. How do we do this? We take the data fields Visa, MasterCard require in order to provide you with level 3 rates and deliver them on your behalf. All you have to do is process transactions within Acumatica, and any business-to-business or business-to-government transaction processed within the continental U.S. will qualify for level 3 rates. You can see the level 3 data on the screen. We deliver it for you, and I'd like to show you exactly how simple it would be for us to deliver it. Acumatica allows us to create our customers and add as many credit cards per customer as we need to. Yes, you heard that correctly. There are no limitations. I know that with other processors, you are limited to a certain number of credit cards per customer. With us, you have no limits. We follow Acumatica's guidelines as far as your security settings, your user count. If permitted, I can add cards on the fly anywhere that I'm allowed to process a transaction, edit, or simply view the transaction. The credit card information. This is the screen in which you would enter the credit card information. Notice how simple it is. And once you do enter that credit card information, we tokenize it, store it in our secured vault, taking that PCI compliance side of things for you and making sure that you either become or remain PCI compliant. Now, we also add an email address per card that you can set up to receive a receipt every time you complete a transaction. You can apply multiple payment types against invoices. You can process pre-authorizations or direct captures right within the order entry screen. It's entirely up to you. The functionality is very flexible. Now, remember, the key here is that level 3 processing is completely available to you, automated, and you do not have to worry about submitting the fields that Visa, MasterCard require. This is how simple it would be to process a credit card transaction. Now, I had previously processed a sales order, authorized and captured, or I can simply go directly to capture. The transaction will then be updated in my Acumatica screen, providing me a transaction ID number, which is generated by our portal. You can also be set up to auto batch each night and receive the funds in your bank account the next morning. So if you batch out by 9 p.m. Eastern, the funds will be available in your bank account the next morning by 8 a.m. Now, our services are provided at absolutely no charge. We do the installation, implementation, training. You also receive maintenance and support at no charge. We guarantee a live human being on the other side of the line if you ever need to speak with a technician or our support staff. And we provide custom modifications at no charge depending on the volume of your account. So if you need an integration to an e-commerce solution, to a scanning solution, a mobile solution, point of sale solution, let us know and we'll be able to help. Now, the one last thing I'd like to mention before I hand it back over to Russ is the level of savings you can obtain. As you can see, an average of 30%. And this is a small analysis review that you see here. Typically, we're able to save people anywhere from $20,000 to over $100,000 a year. You heard that correctly. If you're interested in a free audit of your current rates and fees, no strings attached, let me know and I will be happy to provide it. All we need is 3 copies of your most current merchant statement, and we will get back to you with an analysis review similar to the one you see on the screen, detailing exactly how much the bank is making off of your account, how much the card brands are making off of your account, how much your current processor is making, and where exactly there is room for savings, giving you the level of savings that, of course, you deserve. And with that, I'd like to just hand it back over to you, Russ.
So I just thought what we would do today is sort of close the loop on this whole order fulfillment, this automation process that we've been talking about today. And when I last left you, remember we talked about how NetStock really is designed to answer 2 key questions. And earlier we looked at the dashboard and drilled down to answer really the first question about what needs my attention. But we now need to answer the second question. If you think about it, we've just been through sort of an abbreviated day in the life, right, of an inventory-based company. And we've had all kinds of transactions occur today, right? We've entered orders, we've packed and shipped those orders, we've invoiced those and been paid for them. Product has arrived at the dock and been put away. We've had production processes perhaps that have been completed, and maybe even done a cycle count on some of our key items as well. So all these transactions have been occurring, all of that flowing into Acumatica in one nicely integrated, aggregated environment. But now our buyers, the inventory managers, now need to understand the impact of all those activities and what now needs to be ordered, right? We've had all this, all these transactions and all these differences and updates to our inventory balances. So now we can quickly take a look at what we do there to place an order in the NetStock environment. So I'll go back to my NetStock application. And so we moved from the dashboard over to our order environment, just another click on the menu. And now what we've done is NetStock now presents us with a list of every single supplier that has at least one item that now needs to be ordered, either because it's their standard order replenishment cycle timing, or because something occurred as a result of large orders being shipped or products coming in the door, and now we have to take have some reaction to that. So I get a list of every supplier with kind of a summary snapshot view of that particular potential PO, and I can see how many line items, how much dollars value there is there, all kinds of other statistics. Let's assume I just ready to place an order on this particular supplier. I click the button, click create order. And what it really is doing now in NetStock is it's expanding that detail. I've got 11 line items now on this potential PO. And this is really what we call an order schedule, or sort of a workspace for me as a buyer to make decisions. And I'm going to see recommendations from NetStock on every one of these line items. And I'm going to have all the backing information behind it to help me understand why the recommendation was made. So here's an example of a particular line item, INK004. NetStock is recommending we purchase 2,432 units of those. That's more than my minimum order quantity, which we understand and track. It's based on my multiples of 1. It could be dozens, right, or cases, each is hundreds, those kinds of things. I know what my unit cost is for this supplier for that item. It extends that across to a line item. So this is $114,000 worth of this product that I'm buying. And then all that analysis that we did, the shorthand of lead time and safety stock and replenishment cycles, how we classified it, what its status is as a potential stock out in this example. I can click on what's on hand in other locations. So maybe instead of placing this order, I can execute a transfer from another location that has more than it needs. So I have the ability to do that kind of balancing. And I've got my entire demand profile and forecast available to me as well. So I can make changes to these, right? If I decided this 978 really needed to be 500 for some reason, I know something the system doesn't, I can make those changes. Those are summarized in this lower right-hand table to help me understand current status. I have the ability to add line items, of course, and I can even use some intelligence here to help me top off an order for certain targets. If I need to get to a certain cost for free shipping or a discount of some kind, or if I needed to fill a container, I can track volume and solve for that volume. So right now it's telling me I've got 1,800 and some cubic meters. You know, what if I needed to get to 1,900 cubic meters to really fill that container? It's now going to go out and solve and find which ones match that, or let's make it 2,000 and solve for that. And says, okay, these are the next 3 items that might not be ready to be ordered technically yet, but they're below their max. And these would be the next ones that would come up in an ordering process. So maybe it makes sense for me to go ahead and order those now to fill the container and get some other benefit. So I have the ability to see all of that intelligence and data available to me to make those good buying smart decisions. So again, I can create a PO here in a matter of minutes, what might have taken hours, if not days, in other applications, and simply make my adjustments, see the recommendations, accept or change those, and then when I'm done, I click download. This creates an output file that now gets imported, or using an API gets uploaded into the Acumatica open purchase order environment. So just that quickly, we've been able to answer that second question as to, you know, what do I need to order and how do I get my system back in balance or keep it in balance going forward. So that's kind of the idea here, was to sort of close the loop on that, right? We've been talking today with various presenters, have all presented this sort of strategy to help you understand how all these complementary applications all integrate seamlessly with Acumatica, which is obviously an excellent ERP platform that we can all leverage, and extend the functionality, that core functionality of Acumatica, which is in its own right very solid, but now we can take some other best practices and really extend those applications out to meet your specific needs. And so I hopefully you've all seen evidence of that how we work well together and how we all seamlessly integrate with Acumatica and really produce an end-to-end automated workflow for your order entry and order fulfillment environment. So with that, again, I want to add my thanks to all of your attention and time today. Thanks to my co-presenters. And Adrian, I'll hand it back to you. Looks like you've got a poll up, and then we can open up for a few